Welcome back to The Unpopular Opinion, Becoming Popular. My name is Yana the Heretic, and this is my channel where I discuss all of the 64 gates that are in the I Ching wheel and how they play a role in human design and astrology. And I am going backwards in time just to share really potent stories about what was going on in transit February 24th to March 1st. And we are in a new godhead. This is the godhead Mitra. Mitra is the solar deity from the Rig Vedas. And Indo-Iranian, it's the solar deity, the guardian of honesty, friendship, and covenants. This is called the gate of friendship, or the keynote is the family. Starting off, this was a gate that started on my father's birthday. My father has been going in and out of radiation therapy. He got another scare last year in November, and it's been years and years since his last, radiation therapy, stuff like that. So, I was really feeling called to send him a potent message this year, more than usual. I just wanted to open my heart and share more than just a basic thing, because my relationship with my father is a difficult one. We didn't talk for about 8 years, and the past is the past, trying to just become better people, and I just hey, I've been practicing opening my heart more and sharing more and putting more energy into something. And to my surprise, I actually got a really long message back that was well written and thought out and more emotional than usual. Even though my dad is a Pisces, he is of Russian descent and he does not really show emotion in his life. I mean, there's been fragments of it, but it's not necessarily super deep. So I was actually really surprised because, my relationship with him has been pretty basic, very casual, very, non-communicative. He doesn't really call or ask me how I'm doing or what's going on in my life. So I was okay, this is dope, and I'm really, really hoping that ChatGPT didn't help him write it, because, he uses it as his logical brain now, and that is unfortunate, but, even if he uses it as his logical brain, I mean, fucking weird times, right? What can I do, right? So this is generally really what Gate 37 is about. It's about, just being the glue in the team, in the community, in your family. And I have definitely attempted to be the glue of the family. I have this gate in my personality Earth. It is a really head first gate for me. This is the main part of who I am. I have it in gate 5 or line 5, which is called love. This is the natural and affected devotion to the family. So I think the hardest part about this gate is that I don't really understand people, and the way that they respond has been, has really affected me, personally, because, you'll go out and like really, show up for people, and you respond really well, and they give you like a one word answer, or it is definitely not emotional. And I know that some people don't like to get very vulnerable, or they're not comfortable like having that sensitivity or expressing sensitivity. A lot of people don't have time in this day and age to like send people thought out messages and responses back, or they just lack mannerisms. Some people just never really understand how to respond to others in a polite way, or have, that fire within them to like respond, and I've fallen victim to that as well in my life, because, in this day and age in America, it's been really difficult to, respond, because we're constantly stimulated, we're constantly working, trying to pay the bills, and there's families involved, and like people have children, people have been running on like extensive amounts of caffeine for a really long time, and I don't expect people to respond to me the way I used to, and it used to really get to me, because even if I don't respond to you right away, I usually send a really nice response the next couple days or a day later, maybe it's a week later at the most, and I still will respond to you. I'm not going to ignore that I got a message, right? And my responsibilities are at full capacity. So I just think that responding to people is my duty in that way, and I have the willpower for it. And of course, it's really hard, it's really rough when you do everything for a community that like doesn't really repay a favor, and put in as much effort as everyone around them, and this is really what this gate is about. This is a gate of the bargain. This is a part of the bargain where the 37 is the distributor, the person that decides whether, the team player is a fair distributor, or, who's going to actually be loyal to me, who's actually going to show up and put their work into this. And it is my little percentage of Satanism that I have within me. That is that thread that does get pulled, because being myself as a Virgo with a Libra ascendant and a Pisces moon, I give my all. I have given my all to people, and I've really had to learn the lesson of do unto others as they do to you, which is the little golden rule of Satanism, right? Which, I still understand the value of. There's many theologies that I pick and choose from as I exist and read and expand my philosophy. And it is important for me to note that, because like of how much I've sacrificed my time for other people, for the people that I've dated. I haven't really gotten to spend time practicing, my work and my mastery, because I just want to see other people succeed, and I've sacrificed a lot because of that. And I've really been broken down by those people that are not loyal to me in the end, even though I have been there for them. And I've spent a lot of time attempting to get them out of the dump, or out of the hole they dug themselves in. And I have learned that that is not my duty. I've learned that very severely. So going into this, it is rough to always show up when other people don't, like I understand I go through my ADHD like rabbit holes, and I get overstimulated as well, and like don't respond. but you really like generally know who's there for you. You generally understand like who is a part of your community, who's going to be loyal, who you can rely on, who's your ride or die. And I feel like I have been collecting those type of people in my life, and they're really rare, and they're like rare for that reason. They understand that exchange of giving and receiving, and they practice it. And you know, I really want to be that person. You know, I have gate 40, the polar gate to gate 37. This is a ego gate. Gate 40 is about aloneness. This is the gate of being comfortable being alone. This is the gate of really needing to be alone, because if you are responsible for many people, then you have to break away. You have to get your thoughts straight. You have to get your emotions straight, your, you know, spirit, you know, to function at its optimal level. And it's really difficult for people to do that if they never take a break. Imagine, you know, being that person at the very head, like a mayor or something of a community, and you're having to hear everyone's concerns, everyone's ideas. You know, it's hard to filter 100 voices and make sure that you make some type of community rules that everyone feels equal in the place that they're at, that everyone feels like they're getting paid what they deserve. You know, you're constantly like in that danger of, you know, everyone wants a piece of the throne, everyone wants this or that or this or that, and how am I supposed to really channel my best self if I never break away and I'm never alone? So gate 40 is my personality sun, and I find it interesting to note that, you know, around gate 37, that is my half birthday, which is really interesting when it comes into, you know, looking at the channels. Let me know if that's similar for your design. Do you have sun and earth as a channel that connects together? So the channel of community 4037, the 37 is an emotional gate. It's in our solar plexus. It's underneath the Godhead Mitra, and it's about really showing up and loving and being the glue and being excited and hugging people and making them feel like they're a part of the community, making them feel safe within the community. Where, you know, the bargain comes in, you always have to talk about the bargain. Okay, well, I'm seeing that you're not actually fulfilling this type of work. Maybe we can have somebody else do this. Where would you feel more comfortable? You're always talking about the bargain, because for me, like when things seem unfair, now at 32 years old, I'm gonna freaking tell you about it. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be grounded when I speak. You know, and I think that's what makes the best type of business owner. I typically think about the managers like a lot, especially in corporate situations. And I'm like, why are all managers so shitty? You know, what evil little manual do they have back there where, you know, they just like reward the people that manipulate clients to make more sales, but whoever's in the background doing all of the dirty work, they never get rewarded. You know, they never get seen, or, you know, even like, wow, you did so much work, like we really would be nowhere without you. That is something that I will completely eradicate in my business model. And I'm still building up my money flow bit by bit to like really handle my assets. And like, you know, I'm not as wealthy as I would love to be right now. And I remember when I give people gifts and like invest in their lives and invest in their ideas, like that's really where I want to be. And I'm like getting myself out of this depression by expressing like their truth, you know, as more and more life happens, the more emotional situations break me down, and I feel that heart, aching within me that is like, fuck, like I'm remembering certain instances in my ajna, in my PTSD, and I'm like, yeah, this is absolute. Like, I'm not going to follow the same systems like everybody else does because it hurts, and like, I really, really want to be there for those people, and I have to make myself function at an optimal level and give. So I know that the Gate 37 really starts to develop their not self, and we see a lot of these types of managers or a lot of these types of entertainers, like that have developed this approval state, within them where, like, as a kid, if your family really doesn't pay attention to you, especially if you whether you're an only child or, you have multiple brothers and sisters, like, the attention given can be really rough to deal with, especially if you see, like, your brothers getting rewards or attention, and you start to, like, build this, like, false identity based off of approval right then and there, because who the fuck is actually watching you do your handstand? Who's actually, like, cheering you on? Who's actually listening to the song, and, like, they put their screens down, they turn off the TV, and they actually pay attention to you. This is huge. It's huge, huge, huge. Like, this is really where we develop our false mask that has been, pressing the same button of stimulation while our dopamine erodes, because we're not being true to ourselves. We're being true to that person that got what they needed based off of being somebody they're not. And breaking that down has absolutely been essential, and operating from the truth can be a rocky road, but it is ideal. It is essential to you succeeding, and to you to not completely being, like, hollow in yourself, because your community will reflect your hollowness if you're not being authentic. There is a toxicity aspect to, what I've had to personally break down, which is, like, feeling really negative about myself, feeling worthless because of people not responding to me the way that I respond to them. That is not how I want to be. I don't want to feel like, oh, well, either negative about that person, like, vindictive, or just completely being like, yeah, like, I don't consider you a good friend. I will never invite you over, just because, like, you respond a certain way to me. Like, I still want to give people that shot, obviously, like, you have your own life. So as long as, I assess really, like, who's fully there, who's fully there for me the way that I really want to see in a community. So that's the thing that's also important to know about this gate is, like, just because my father doesn't answer me how I want, doesn't mean that I hate them, doesn't mean that, like, I'm going to take it upon myself to feel that inside of myself, like, oh, well, I'm not enough. So, and that's why people respond to me poorly. It has to do with so much more than that, typically. So, unpacking that has been a lot. It's also triggered that doubt within myself. This is gate 63. This is the next gate in the order of Mitra, and it is a logical gate, so Mitra is really more about the logical aspect in our emotional center, you know, instead of it just being like Kali, where it's like steeped heavy in our emotional center and like burning things down, you know. So we're really starting to look at things in a more logical, more neutral way here, like who's actually going to be like a great asset in my team, a great person in my family that we like will have that potent giving and receiving exchange. I also find that since I have a lot of emotionality, I have a lot of emotional gates. I have 4816, which is the gate of the wavelength, that is the gate of depth or the well. 48 specifically, in the spleen center. I find that for me also, I have to kind of like, I don't know if warn is like the right word, but I warn my friends that are new that I'm a very deep person. I'm somebody who's a ride or die. Like, I will support you. I will, you know, share your art. I will share your business. I will invest as much as I can into it. I will show up for you, you know, and come to your event, you know, or whatever it is. And a lot of people don't want that, you know, they don't want another friend. They don't want another responsibility, or, you know, I understand that that is the problem with America, especially. I know that other countries and states are like that as well, where you just don't have the money, you just don't have the time to like really show up the way you want with people. But as long as you still try, it is huge. The lack of affection from friends and family, you know, falls where it does, you know. Me being shot down and rejected in certain ways when it comes down to friendships or family has really potentially made me invincible. And I understand, like especially through human design, like who's my people, who's gonna be there for me. I think that recognition is extremely important. That's another part of this gate where, you know, the 37 does seek to get recognized. And that is what really makes anybody pulse like more potently in their work. You know, they show up brighter, they show up, you know, with this like surge of responsibility that if they didn't exist in their team, then everything would fall away. And that really changes the way that people work and the way that they show up. And if they're never recognized, then they are more likely to leave. You know, I'm sure there's some case study about that specifically, or multiple things. So everyone deserves that recognition. It's not even that like deep down to the bones. It's simple, you know. So I want to make people feel elated when they work, you know. Specifically for me, I know that I'm going to be a business owner in the future. The intention is huge, you know, the intention between people, the intention for why you do the things that you do. We have a fuck ton of planets in Aries. I think that the intent is really potent, you know, in studying how, you know, you can be properly in your community and be a business owner is extremely important. I do want to take care of people fairly without needing to make the most profit. I just want to share. I just want to teach. I want to give people a place to go and to like allow their ego to decompress, to like show up with their heart, you know, instead of like needing to compete necessarily in a very toxic way or be fake, or, you know, so like a center that, you know, involves music and arts and elixirs and herbalism and teaching and relaxing. Maybe there will be a sauna or infrared, you know, and like that is my personal goal that I want to create here, because I think it's so important for people to show up as their true selves and to feel safe doing that and talk about real things with real people. And being able to have outlets for your depression and be able to support yourself with herbs, you know, that harmonize within your body, allowing you to not run on really like temperamental, like panicky profiles. This is a gate that also realizes like, yeah, like I personally love people that I met. I love them to the point where, you know, if they really do something horrible, you know, they have acted really bad, you know, I would rather talk to them one-on-one instead of like canceling them in the public eye, you know. And I just like wish for the best for people, you know, even if they can't be accountable for their actions. At least I like don't blast them unless they're really being violent in the community. It's important for people to take that accountability and feel safe doing so, because that is really what is a checkpoint in their life. Like guilt is extremely important to deliver, because then people can see themselves from a real place, and that reflection is honestly a godsend. I tend to love from afar, you know, the people that I know that create chaos in my life. Every time I see them, I still love them, you know, I still will support them, but I don't necessarily want to give my time up, because every single time I'm with them, something like chaotic happens. I lose my stuff. I lose my wallet. You know, there's like an energy that stirs that I'm not comfortable with. And once you start to realize that, and also hitch human design to that, you'll really start to like see the greater map of why that is how it is, you know. And some people hook onto you like they expect you to show up, you know, in ways that you cannot. So it is important to feel comfortable expressing, you know, how you wish to show up. You know, there's very much boundaries that are developed here with the people. You know, it's not that you don't want to give them your energy. It's some of them just, you're just not devoted to their plan, and they don't seem to listen to you. So it is like a door, you know, that revolves, like, depending on how people choose to show up and how accountable they really are and how they act. You know, this was a pretty difficult gate, again, for me to break open for myself. These 37s are, like, completely in, you know, this regular, like, your regular needs or basic needs need to be met, you know, and that means regular exercise, regular play, regular social interactions, you know, regular sex every week, you know, and food and water, and, you know, so this is very much a gate that asks, will I ever get what I need? And it is hard when you're in a relationship when you don't get those needs met, and it starts to make some internal aspect of you like really decay or feel inconsistent, like you can't really expand, and that is important, I think, for a lot of female or female presenting people, males as well, like it's hard for people to really receive the affection that they need until they can really get deep to the bones of like why you really need that, because that's where traumas really exist. They exist in the like our sexual release. They are all filtering from a place that is directly linked to your personal experience in life and your needs being met. And all of these areas are so crucial for your relationship or bond with your partner, to be accessed, or else it may not work. You're going to have to find those needs elsewhere. So, will I ever have what I need? Man, we've done so many horrible things for the things that we need. So this is your time to really assess and be accountable with yourself, because what is coming ahead from today and from now, as we are further into this year of 2026, we're going to really start to initiate a lot. And this is an important ground breaking gate for you to listen to if you're starting something, from a really authentic and really a place of dignity, and integrity within yourself. Questions of the week are, will I ever have what I need? When you ask yourself this question, what comes up in your mind? What feelings arise? Do you tell yourself that you have to be a certain way to get what you need? How would you naturally show up if you lived life on your terms? When you feel like you've been pulling everyone's weight at work, how does spite play its role? Do you start to act vindictive? What does your ideal community look like when everything is running efficiently? What oaths do you abide by within your own self in exchanges with others? In what way do you exercise healthy giving and receiving? Do you find yourself taking on more because it makes you feel better about yourself at the expense of your energy? Note the sacrifices that are necessary and the ones that are not. That's something that I do have to talk to my partner about. And, do you take on more and still receive less? Does that ego, is that enough, or are you going to be able to feel purposeful for doing less and operating at an optimal level for his body, because he's a projector, so these are important things to note. Thank you for watching this gate. I also do want to mention that today I am repping Forced to Watch. That is my boyfriend's band. It's a two-piece, Scotty and Benny. They are in a band. It is extremely heavy, sludgy, death metal. It's like grind, sludge, all the good things. Please go get yourself a shirt at their next show. Or you can obviously DM me. You can also follow them on Instagram. They have a website that I will post in the links. Forced to Watch is all about, being forced to watch what's all the horrors, of the world right now, of America. Like, we have the access to see how our political government is running, and this would be a really amazing investment. It's one of those bands that really fuels us to do the right thing, you know, and to talk and speak outwardly about the inconsistencies, the things that shouldn't be happening in our universe, and to develop, you know, better laws to abide by. We can't really get away from laws on the earth. So please follow them. Please message me if you want a shirt, and watch their music on YouTube. They are on Bandcamp as well, and I will post those links. Forced to watch. Thank you for watching, and I will shoot the next gate out pretty soon. See you then.